What's going on, everybody? It's Joe from the Acceptable Casualties. Today we're going to be playing a little bit of Hail Caesar. We're going to be doing the Battle of Mount Gindarus. It's the Romans taking on the Parthians. So we'll be back in a second to go over the lists and deployment. Okay, so here we have the setup for the Battle of Mount Gindarus. For those of you who don't know, it's actually Republican Roman, toward the end of the Republican Romans. I only have Imperial Roman, so when you guys see the models and you're trying to put it together, that's actually what's happening right now. But this battle took place after Crassus died in Cannae and ended up getting surrounded and butchered. This happened a little bit after that. It was the Romans' first... not first victory against Parthians, but one of the bigger ones where they kind of started coming to the conclusion that their heavy infantry wasn't really meant to square off toe-to-toe against the horse archers and mobile cavalry of the Parthians on flat ground. They started to use the terrain a little bit more, and this is one of those first instances where like they really used that to their advantage, and it's historically was a pretty one-sided victory for the Romans. The Parthians had to kind of charge uphill. As you guys can see, we have the hills kind of lined up here for the Romans. The Parthian horse archers and the cataphracts and everything, they had to kind of push up the hills that the Romans were defending on, and get a little bit closer to shoot their arrows and get into close combat. And at that time, when they got close enough, the Romans then pushed downhill and kind of routed them into running into each other, and ended up turning into almost a slaughter. So for this battle, we're not obviously going to try to recreate that, but we're going to have some of those elements inside the fight where whoever, because of getting Parthian, myself, or Vin, we're going to have to push into the Roman line and kind of recreate that. So shooting distances for arrows, javelins, all that is going to be cut in. Cut in half for javelins, so it'll be about 3 to 4 inches for them to throw their ranged attacks, and then horse archers are going to go down from 18-inch range down to 12-inch range. So that's kind of how we're going to try to like press the action and get a little bit tighter to kind of recreate that. We'll just start with the list, I guess, right now as well. So over here we have one division of auxiliary cav. Like I said, this isn't an exact historical list. It's kind of also based off just kind of what I had available. So we have 3 units of auxiliary cav, medium cav right there. We have one of the ballista/scorpions. Our next division in the middle is just the Roman legionnaires. So it's going to be just regular, no veterans or anything in there. Just going down the line, so there's going to be 6 units of that. And then down here on this flank, we have another division of auxiliary. It's going to be 2 units of full medium auxiliary, and then 2 small units of archers. Right here, the lead general, who historically was Ventidius Bassus. He's going to end up being a leadership 9 just for this one right here. And then if we come on down here to the Parthians, we're going to be looking at, they have 4 divisions in total. We have 3 horse archers here, 1 cataphract, and then their division. Then we have the middle division. This is kind of the infantry one. It's going to have just 4 units of medium infantry, and then they're going to be levy as well, I believe. And then up here, we're looking at some skirmishers, some javies. Then over here, we have general's cav, 3 units of horse archers, and then we have the general here, Pacorus the First, I believe is how you pronounce his name. And then over here on the far flank, we have another one of the same divisions as the other ones, with 3 horse archers, 1 cataphract, and they're going to be led by a man called Quintius Labienus. He was a Roman who ended up switching sides and joining the Parthians. I think historically, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I think after the Roman Civil War, a lot of the guys that were part of the eastern part of the empire, they ended up switching sides. Not switching sides, but after Julius Caesar won, they ended up, a lot of those guys ended up becoming either mercenaries or kind of joining the Parthians on that front of the empire. So I think that's how he ended up becoming part of this right here. So that's kind of what we're looking at right now. Roughly 400 points aside, give or take. It's not exact right now, but we're going to get back into the game. We'll be back in a second for turn 1. Okay, so we are back for top of turn 1 for the Parthians. I ended up getting the Parthians for this matchup. Vin's going to take the Romans. So for this turn, a lot of positioning. One thing went wrong for me and it really didn't pay off. So first move, I did a division move with my infantry line, with my skirmishers. I ended up getting 3 moves, so I pushed them up as far as I could. Kind of like, if you guys can't really tell, it's kind of like the foot of the mountain right there. Skirmishers were given 4-inch range because they're kind of throwing uphill, but so I'm out of range by like, I think it's what, 7 inches away or something like that? Yeah. 7 or 8 inches away right now. So that's kind of what we're sitting at right now, staring down that Roman battle line. Next up, I moved over to this flank. I was able to push up over here with Lubinius, and then that traitor. He pushed up on the flank over here. I was able to fire down some shots in the shooting phase. I was able to pull 2 wounds off here. I got 1-6, forced Vin to take a break test with the ranged attacks, but he ended up passing. He's fine. So there's 2 morale tokens taken off of this auxiliary unit on the flank over here. This unit down here, this was the main general's unit. I had to use my reroll. I only got an 8 for my orders, my order roll. So 1 move up. So horse archers pushed up, trying to help support the infantry on that flank, and then the general's cataphract cav, they're pushing up behind here as well. So that's where these guys are positioned there. And then down here, I needed these guys. I think what I roll, like a 10 or an 11.
Yeah, I think I rolled a 10
for a division order. I was trying to push them up to protect the flank of the infantry over there. I ended up rolling a 10. I got nothing out of it, so they ended up just staying parked here. So this flank is completely exposed. The downside is, if you guys haven't noticed, Vin has 3 units of medium cav there. Andy has a ballista or scorpion. So this could be bad here as far as some people getting rolled up early. So we're going to see how this plays out. We'll be back in a second for bottom of turn 1 for the Romans. So we are back for the bottom of turn 1 for the Romans. Vin got pretty aggressive and things kind of worked out pretty good for him right here. So for his opening moves, he took this division over here on the flank and he got aggressive, repositioned them in a line right there, and then actually brought in one of the Roman legionaries and pushed them up to kind of solidify this entire flank over here. It's a pretty smart move. He's not going to get the hill bonus with this side of the line over here, but he kind of shored up that flank over there, made this a little bit more solid. He ended up holding the rest of his the legion up here on the hilltop. They're just holding the line, and then back down over here, Vin swung in with the cav, pushed 1 cav unit over here to defend the flank, and then these 2 cav units here, they smashed in to the left flank over there of that medium infantry. These guys here were able to defeat the skirmishers that were in front of them. Then they consolidated. Vin passed his disorder check, and then ended up rolling into these guys. Did 3 wounds. Vin lost 3 guys in the process of 2 fights. I ended up losing this combat though. I think by what, 1? By 1 or 2? 2. By 2, yeah. My skirmishers did pretty good. They took 2 wounds off of Vin's cav. These guys only took 1. So they ended up having to give ground disordered, so they're kind of locked up for the next turn. This one fared a little bit better. Vin came in and we both ended up doing, what, 4 hits on each other?
4 hits, yeah.
And Vin failed 3 saves. I only failed 2. So I ended up winning the combat. But we both, Vin ended up falling back, giving ground disordered. I ended up just engaging with him disordered as well. So we're kind of both locked in over there. Vin will lose his disorder token, obviously, at the end of the turn. That's kind of how that happened right there. So that's what happened for combat. For shooting, I should have went over that before. The Scorpion ended up firing down. Didn't really do anything over here. And then the 2 light infantry archer units over here, they were able to pluck 1 wound off of the Parthians on this side. So that's what we're looking at right now for the bottom of turn 1. Be back in a second. Top of 2 for the Parthians. Hopefully we can start using our mobility a little bit here and start making a mess of 2 of these flanks. We'll be back in a second to see how that plays out. We are back for top of turn 2. Pretty good this turn as far as results go. So pretty much what ended up happening in the beginning of it, we'll start with the main infantry division here. They, obviously this guy was disordered, so I couldn't use him for anything. Look at that die out here. But up here, we ended up just spinning these guys to face down Vin's cav there. Our skirmishers were able to skirmish a wound off of this cav right here in the shooting phase, and then these guys we pushed up to kind of defend that flank from the Romans on top of the hill. I'm just explaining this division by division if you guys are following. We know it goes in phases, but it's just easier to kind of talk through when we're going over what happened for the turns. Then for this division here, they were previously back here. I ended up getting 2 orders off, and I called it ahead of time. I wanted to push my horse archers up here. They fired into Vin's flank up there. I was able to pluck 1 wound off on that unit there. And then the General's Guard, the cataphract over here, they were able to push up to this position, most likely to be able to get a charge off next turn into there. This division over here on this side, all the horse archers kind of swung over to here. Vin did get traversing shots from his light archer unit, but failed to hit. For the shooting phase, we were able to take 2 more wounds off of or 2 morale hits, whatever you guys want to call it, off of this medium auxiliary infantry over here on the flank. These guys pushed here. And then for my cataphracts, I would have needed 3 moves to get in there, like 1 to turn to get the right angle, and then 2 to follow up. I was only able to get 2 orders off, so these guys are also in position next turn to get a charge off on Finn's guys right over there. But the big thing that happened was down over here on this flank. So I was able to push up my horse archers here. We fired down into Vin's unit. We were unable to do anything to these guys. But the combat that was happening behind them, which was left over from that infantry division over there, Vin ended up throwing his general into the combat. We both only did, what, 2 wounds on each other?
Yeah.
We both only did 1. We only saved once. We both took a wound on that one. But since Vin put his general into the combat, I got to roll the, I needed, what, a 10 up because you threw 3 attacks in there, right? I ended up rolling a 10, and then Vin ended up becoming slain. So Vin took an extra wound in the combat, which forced him to roll a break test, and Vin rolled double 1s. So that unit of cav that was there broke off the table. The general ended up getting captured with him, so he has to bring another guy on the back end, and then these guys I consolidated and turned here. So they are no longer disordered. Pulled disorder from these guys as well. I think that's all I had left on the table. So that's what happened here for the top of turn 2 for the Parthians. They're starting to make a push on this flank here. It's looking pretty good. We'll see how things play out and how Vin answers the call. So we'll be back in a second. Bottom turn 2 for the Romans. So we were back for bottom turn 2 for the Romans. For this turn, things got pretty good for Vin as far as the middle of the table goes. So down here, we'll start actually on the right flank. So Vin had that battle line up there with his infantry here. He pushed up with his free moves because they're within the 12-inch rule, the proximity rule. But I ended up passing all 3 of my my Parthian shot tests, so I was able to break off, fire a couple of shots down, but I wasn't able to pluck any wounds off. These guys were able to kind of get out there. With the 2 archer units, Vin ended up pushing one over to help support the infantry over there. Vin fired 4 shots. He was able to pluck off 2 wounds for my cataphracts there, which is kind of unfortunate. Then back up to the middle of the table. This is just a hot mess. So Vin sent down everybody from the hilltops, pretty much. Vin was able to capture one of the Parthian horse archer units right there. I failed my, whatever, like a 9 or a 10 on the leadership test to break off for the Parthian shot, so they ended up getting run down and caught. Vin's unit that was up there, they pushed down over here. They were able to win this combat, push me back disordered. I have 5 wounds plucked off of these guys. I was only able to do 2 off of that, so pretty good combat there for Vin. Surprisingly, here, my skirmishers were able to hold. Vin ran down the hill, ended up smashing me for 3 wounds. Vin only took 2, and I rolled, I think,
you saved
a 10 or, yeah. Well, I didn't save anything. I automatically took 3.
That's all right.
But I rolled like a 10 or an 11 on the break test, so they ended up just holding their ground, so they stayed put there. These guys here, they were able to finish off that 1 unit of infantry that they engaged with in combat.
Clean sweep.
Yeah, clean sweep. They just rolled them up. I think what you do 6
wounds, like right off the bat.
6 wounds. He won. Yeah, he won the combat by like 5 or 6, and then he just rolled those guys up. So that was the end of that. These guys were disordered. They're just kind of sitting there right now. The unit, the unit right here, the cav unit that was there, they pushed in to try to take out one of the horse archer moves with their free move, but I was able to pass my Parthian shot tests, fired in, no damage done there. And that's kind of what we're looking at right now. So you guys can see this flank right here, it's pretty much owned by the Parthians. Vin only has 1 cav unit there, but the middle, Vin's starting to really take control of that, and he's probably going to mop that up in about a turn or 2. I think this flank over here is still kind of waiting to be decided. So we'll be back in a second for top of turn 3 for the Parthians and see if we can kind of get a foothold on what's happening here. Now the fight's come down into the plains and off the hills, so we'll be back in a flash. We are back for top of turn 3, and the middle has crumbled. It's not looking too good for the Parthians in the middle of the table. So we'll start from end to end, and we'll just kind of do it as is. So over here on the left flank, we were able to get our cav with our free move, the proximity move, into Vin's cav. We were able to win the combat. Vin had to give ground disordered, so we ended up staying locked in with them there. For our horse archers, we were able to wheel up with our 2 moves, get some shots down on the scorpion bolt thrower up top there. We were able to pluck off only 1 wound on that one. We ended up failing our last individual order down here, and so these guys had to stay put, not really contributing anything to this round of combat. In the middle, this just went bad. So that's the only way I can describe it. So up top, this unit here, they were able to wipe out the last of those skirmishers that were standing ground and holding the line valiantly. They ended up getting run down. Vin with his move after the victory for the combat just kind of swung them to help protect this this flank over here. Down here, Vin's Cav, they were able to win their combat, but they are shaken, but they were able to break that other unit off the table, so that happened there. These guys here, they were able to get me shaken. I had my general in the combat. I think, Vin, you won by what, like 1 or 2?
Yeah.
In that one. Failed to wound the general, but these guys are shaken, disordered. They had to give ground. Vin's guys were in good shape, so they ended up consolidating, and they ended up swinging and facing out to this way over here. Over on this this unit here, the general ended up actually just holding over here. With my 2 horse archer units, I tried to swing around over there. I only got 2 moves off with these guys. They're kind of high and dry. And then the other horse archer unit, I ended up shooting the gap there and pushed them up to the top of the hill, but I couldn't really turn around. These guys, this cataphract unit and the cataphract unit there, they were able to take out Vin's legionnaires right over here, or legionaries over here, and they broke them off the table. But what did I have? I rolled 18 dice between the 2 units.
Yeah.
I think I needed 3s to hit. I only got like 7 or 8 hits, but it was enough to win the combat and get Vin to break. But it wasn't pretty by any means. So they have 2 wounds left. These guys have 2. With the consolidation moves, they turn to face over here, and then these guys continue to run down Vin's archers, so they are now disordered. They took 2 wounds as well, so they're kind of locked up back over there. And then down here on this flank, these 3 horse archers here were able to fire some shots down. I think only able to pluck 1 wound off of these guys. Vin ended up making like 1 or 2 saves over here. So that's the way the line's looking right now. After the top of turn 3, like I said, Vin owns the middle of the table. I really can't do anything here, so if Vin wants and shores up his battle lines, he's gonna be able to cut me in half. We'll kind of see how that plays out right now. But yeah, it's not looking too hot right now. I'm gonna have to try to get some creative thinking here. Maybe we'll just go up and burn the village and then call it a day. So we'll be back in a second for bottom of turn 3 for the Romans. So we are back bottom turn 3 for the Romans. Things went extremely well for Vin on this turn. So we're going to work it from left to right and just do it that way. So over here, as you see, the cataphract unit that was here was no more. Vin was able to get this infantry unit that was all the way over there, 3 moves. There was no units to worry about engaging, and was able to shoot all the way across the table and hit me in my flank here. So the combination of that plus this cav unit here was enough to do enough damage to those guys where I think I was shaken, right?
Yeah.
I was shaken, and then I rolled, I think, like a 4 or 5 on the break test table, so I lost those guys. These guys both consolidated, as you can see, to turn around and face up the hill. Vin's Legionnaires unit right here, Legionary unit right here, they were able to, I keep saying like the French Legionnaires.
Yes.
So they were able to do the same thing where they were able to come down the hill, hit my medium infantry there in the flank, and then they were able to run those guys down and do a lot of damage there. So that was pretty devastating. Up over here, the Scorpion fired 2 shots down, failed to do any damage over there. Vin took his general here, pushed into that cav unit to get them unshaken there with their last move. So they're now back in the fight. Since they took so many casualties, this is the only unit left. They're shaken on the table. So this division's technically broken. These guys are going to fall off the table. We'll start moving them back as the game goes. Vin doesn't have to do anything. They can't really come back at this point. Over here, as you see, Vin started forming up to make a secondary line over here on this right flank. Move these infantry guys over there. His general's in the middle, but these guys next turn, they'll take the penalty for being out of range of command. But I think they're still in pretty good shape because we gave this unit a 9 leadership, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they'll only be an 8 from the distance that they're away right now, but I think Vin will be in pretty good shape. So like I said, the rest of those guys are lined up over here on this flank to stare down my general's cav. This horse archer unit was engaged by those guys. I was able to get the Parthian shots and get away over there. Down here, these guys charged in to get these guys, pass another Parthian test, but failed to do any wounds. Vin, you've made a boatload of saves with this unit right here.
Yeah.
Like I think these guys should have been shaken based off how many hits I had like a turn and a half ago.
They are pretty much doing what your Soviets did. Was it 2 weeks ago?
Oh, just making all the saves. Yeah, just making all the saves. Yeah, this unit's been pretty on point. You guys don't really see it because we're not showing the combats, but yeah, these guys have been really holding down this flank over here. Vin had another unit back here. Vin rolled 3 orders to get those guys turned around full 360 and get 2 charges, get 2 moves into there. The way we play it is if you pass 1 order, you can completely change your facing and then you just move as normal. So Vin had 3 successful orders, so he's able to turn 180, face back north, and with his 2 other moves, he was able to hit these guys in the rear. And then the combat that ensued between the archers and there, they were able to shake that cataphract unit, but I was able to, was it?
You made the retreat in good order.
Retreat in good order. We just played it since it was retreat in good order, but I couldn't fall back. We were saying if it was, well, it wasn't retreat, it was give ground.
Yeah,
we were saying if it was give ground disordered or retreat in good order or whatever it was going to be, that we would have taken them off the table. We just didn't look it up in the book. You guys can kind of tell us down there, but we just said that they just stayed locked up with nowhere to go right here. But I said they're shaken and they're completely flanked at this point. So as you can see, Romans really have control of the middle of the table, and they're starting to kind of press in on both flanks. Going into the top of turn 4, I think if things don't go very well right here, I think the Parthians will probably just giving up the field. We're going to need something really special to happen here, and I don't see a lot of places where that can happen. So we'll be back in a second for top of turn 4 for Parthia. Just when you thought it was over, made a valiant effort to hang in this one. So we'll take this from left to right again. So down over here, between all my horse archers that are left on this flank, these guys down here were able to pluck 1 more wound off of these. They're up to 4. These 2 guys here, they were able to fire down, take another wound off of that. Vin had the retreat disordered with them because we kind of was a skirmish unit, I think.
Yeah.
So that's what happened with those guys. Back down here, these guys turn tail. They're going to start working their way off the table on here. Finally, down here, these horse archers, they ended up staying put. I was able to shake these guys, and Vin just decided to hold his ground disordered. So that's kind of what they're looking at over here. Back up here for this combat, the cataphracts were able to hold their ground again. So we're able to shake Vin's archer unit here, do a wound there. I ended up losing the combat by 1, but we ended up getting hold your ground in good order, or give ground in good order, whatever it was. So we were just consistent with how we played it last time. I don't know if it's correct or not. We're just going to continue to do it that way. Where these guys ended up holding here. That horse archer unit, I tried to turn around and get them into support with these guys, but it just ended up falling through. And then back over here, you can see this is the General Cavs unit. He has 5 wounds taken off. He was supported by the Parthians and the General. We were able to take out one of the Roman legionary units right there. I mean, we housed that unit. They ended up breaking, and then we consolidated into the unit up on the hill, and we did the same exact thing to those guys. So we were able to completely break. They were pretty much fresh, right? I think they had like 1 wound lost between both of them to start the combat, so they completely got rolled up. These guys have 5 left. They're still in the mix, and Vin has 1 unit here. So as bad as it was looking on this side, things might start coming together a little bit, but I don't know if we're going to be able to do enough of damage here to really kind of take the hill and take the position. So we'll be back in a second for bottom turn 4 and kind of see how this shakes out. We're back for the bottom of turn 4, and these guys are so good. So we're back here on this turn. A lot of positioning by Vin on this flank over here. So Vin wheeled around his infantry here, his cav that was there, and the cav that was down here, and they're all kind of pushing their way back to support the middle over here. This infantry unit tried to push up the hill. I was able to do another Parthian test, get up to the top, but didn't do any wounds over there. Same thing with the ballista. They fired down. They weren't able to do anything over there. As you can see in the middle here, Vin got housed in another combat. He was able to get that infantry squad infantry unit that was here in the close combat game with the General's Guard, and Vin got what, 2 hits. I rolled double 6s for saves.
If I would have needed 3s, though, you would have taken 7 hits.
Yeah. So then I ended up getting, I forgot, whatever, I did 5 wounds on Vin. It was enough to shake him, and then on the break test chart, I think he had like a 4 after everything was said and done, so that unit had to break. So this entire line here just crumbled, which has been huge. I don't think it's giving me the upper hand yet, but we'll see how it goes. This combat that was back up over here, I ended up winning this time. It was enough to force Vin to give ground here, disordered with these guys. But like I said, they're still in it. They got 4 left. And then the archer unit is shaken. I'm shaken. So this is kind of just stuck up here, not really going anywhere. That's kind of what played out here for this turn. We're going into top of turn 5. For Hail Caesar, we only play 6 turns. So, like I said, we'll be back in a second for top of turn 5. I don't have that much left to play with, but we'll see what we can do. So I'll be back in a flash. So we are back for top of turn 5. Not as effective as I thought it was going to be. So with these guys here, this division over here, it's just horse archers left. I was able to push up, fire 2 shots, missed into that cav unit. Those horse archer units, I was able to push up along the hillside over there. Failed to do any hits there, failed to do any hits there. They completely biffed on that flank. Over here in the middle, so I was just, we don't do pre-measuring, so I was looking at it. I only moved 6. I was thinking I was just out of range, and I was right. So I decided to take my chances and roll. I had the re-roll with the general right here, and then I rolled an 11 and then an 11. So that froze up this entire division here with all the horse archers. So nothing happened with these guys. They ended up staying static. Down here with these 3 units, I fired into these guys. I just wanted to break them off the table. I did a bunch of hits actually, but Vin kept passing break tests, man. So these guys are just still sitting there disordered and shaken, not doing anything. Back up over here. I don't understand how this happened. I won the combat by 4, right?
Yeah.
Or no, I won by 2. I won by 2 because Vin made some saves. I won combat by 2. And then Vin ended up rolling like a 10 or an 11 on the break test table. Those guys they're infantry, they're light infantry archers, so they kind of stuck in again. Yeah, aggravating. So so that's what's happening there. The fight for the village, it's pretty fierce right now. But Vin's holding the lines. We're going back for bottom of turn 5. I got to move these guys too a little bit further off the table. But yeah, Vin's wing over here, that's starting to push in. I think it's going to be mop-up duty pretty soon. We'll kind of see how that plays out. So we'll be back in a second for bottom turn 5 for the Romans. So we are back here for the bottom of turn 5 here for the Romans. The cataphracts have started to make their impact felt, but I don't think it's to the point now where it's going to turn tide of the battle. So we'll start over here from left to right. Down here, Vin was able to, with these guys, to get 2 moves off turn. He was able to run down that unit of horse archers there, take him out, and then he just kind of turned to face for his consolidation over there. Back over here, Vin tried to push up the hill and take another guy out, failed to do so. The Scorpion was able to pluck a wound off of one of the horse archer units there. The cav units that were here, there was 2 of them. They both engaged with the general's bodyguard cataphract there. I was able to shake and disorder these guys in combat, and then I was also shaken in return. There's no disorder marker. I was shaken in return with that, but when I did my consolidation move, we do allow you consolidate if you're shaken. I think we've always played that way. I'm not sure if that's the exact way to do it or not, but that's how we kind of play it, just through consolidation. So I was able to consolidate in the other cav unit here, and I was able to wipe those guys out as well. So Vin's cav unit that was on the left flank that started the game, they're going to have to start retreating as well as the only guy that's left from that unit. No, you got the...
oh, that's right.
Yeah, they're just shaken and disordered over here. So they don't have to start breaking from the field because Vin still has the Scorpion Bolt Thrower up there on that side. Then down here on this flank, these guys obviously weren't able to do anything. Vin was able to get 1 move off and move these guys up toward the village again. That combat back there, finally the cataphracts were able to beat the 1 unit that was over there, the one they were engaged with, they broke, and then with consolidation I was able to hit the other support unit, and then through that combat they also broke. So the archers are broke there, but those guys are shaken and not going anywhere. Like I said, these guys, they can kind of just go in there and do whatever they want at this point to take the village back. So that's what we're looking at right now, going into the top of turn 6. I mean, it's a bloodbath right now, but I think with what Vin has left on the table, it's almost a formality at this point. But we're going to play out the remainder of the game for turn 6, and then we'll come back and do the end of game recap. So let's go back in turn 6 Parthians, see how this thing shakes out. So we're back for top of turn 6 on this one. A lot of skirmishing here, not a lot going on. Pretty much up here I was able to shake those guys through some archer fire. So it was enough to get them shaken. They're shaken down here, so both of those guys need to start working their way off the table, the Cav division for the Romans. Over here I was able to put the general on these guys, get them down to 5, so they're no longer shaking, but I wasn't able to do anything at this point. Back up over here, the 2 horse archer units, they were able to fire down on these guys here, able to get them shaken, so that full division is shaken as well. So Vin has 2 shaken divisions down here. These 3 units also fired into these guys. Vin ended up passing a whole bunch of break tests, so they ended up staying on. They are also still disordered. So Vin has 2 units that they're not completely broken. They have to make their way off the table, but they're a bunch of shaken units. But he still has 1 division that's in the fight. So we're gonna finish this one out and going into the bottom of turn 6. So we'll be back in a second. So you're back for bottom of turn 6. This one, literally, there was nothing much that Vin could do for this turn. He pushed up back to the top of the hill, chased those guys away with some Parthian shot. I ended up passing it, but didn't do any damage over there. And then Vin's other unit over here was able to kind of swing around and get within range there of those guys. But obviously nothing can get done because it was too far out. So we're going to kind of discuss on how the battles played out, and then we'll let you guys know at the end of game recap kind of what we decided as far as how this one played out. So we'll be back in a flash. Okay, so we're back for the end of game recap. After looking at the battlefield and kind of discussing it at this point, we're going to say it was a very slim Parthian victory just based on what was left. Vin only had 2 units that were really active on the table. So it was these guys and those guys on the hill, and then everybody else was shaken and from broken divisions making their way off the table. So you had them left, they were leaving, these guys were leaving, these guys were leaving, and then these guys were about to turn around and leave. So all that was left was 2 units of legionaries. So that's what was left for Vin's list. For what I had left, I had these 3 horse archers, those 2 units of horse archers, those 2 units of horse archers. I had generals cav here, and then I would have been able to unshake those guys eventually off of that. So I had a lot of units left. Not a lot of close combat units, just a lot of skirmishing and harassing units with these guys. But I think it would have been, after we talked about it, it would have been enough to seize victory and take the hilltop. Most likely this would have ended down here with probably these guys being shaken. Most likely them being shaken as well. So that kind of would have been a stalemate. But that would only left Vin 1 unit active on the table against like 6 or 7 units of horse archers. Realistically, and if this was like actually happening, they would have gotten surrounded and just pelted to death with arrows, and that would have kind of been the end of it. So we're going to say Parthian victory here. But let's be realistic about what happened on the table here. If you guys remember, back turn like 3 or 4,
yeah,
Vin owned the middle of the table. That flank was holding. Like, things were definitely looking bad. By far, if you look at the winner of this battle, it's Baconus the First right down here, and his units of generals cav. These guys, they took out 5 units. They rendered 5 units useless.
Yeah, 5.
Right? Yeah, so
yeah,
it's 2 cav units and then 3 of the
infantry.
Yeah, the legionaries. So, yeah, and they're still active. So, like, them alone, like, that was just absolutely huge for them gaining control of the middle of the table. And then back over here, the way this kind of played out with the horse archers, this up here, I'm really curious to see if, we just play consistently how we usually play as far as that unit being in good order and giving ground and losing those combats. I don't know if they would have been run down. We just didn't look at it. We didn't find it in the book, the exact wording for it. So we just kind of played it how we usually play it. But if that would have ended a little bit earlier, that might have made a little bit of a difference. But I don't know how much. I don't know if it would.
I don't think it would have done anything
because those units were still pretty banged up.
That just would have been a moral victory.
Yeah, on this side. But yeah, I think like overall, like my attack plan, obviously, I tried to keep it kind of close to what it was historically. Push the middle with the infantry. I don't think there was any infantry in the battle. We just ended up using it for gameplay purposes. And then I wanted to do was to skirmish out Vin's cav and then wheel up, but that really didn't play out. Vin did a really good job with his cav, kind of holding that line early until the Legion was able to kind of work their way down the hill and clean up, because Vin smashed the middle of the line. When that happened, I really thought it was lights out, especially back over here. I wasn't able to break these guys, man. Like, I really thought with one unit of cataphracts, the horse archers. The 2 units of cataphracts that were committed to that side, plus the 4 or 5 units of horse archers that I had committed over there, that the auxiliaries on that flank, they would have just folded pretty early, and I would be able to kind of wheel in and use the horse archers, maybe get on the back of the hill and really start to envelop Vin, so we couldn't use that front-facing heavy armor to get those saves against the horse archers. But that never happened, and these guys held the flank over here. And, the longer they held, and with the combination of that falling apart, it really was a done deal. It all came down to, like, one all-star unit just cleaning house, which really doesn't happen that often in Hail Caesar to the extent of this. Awesome. This was definitely, like, out of the box. But I don't know
I think the last time that happened was when we were playing the Crusade one. When I had that one unit of elephants that like
that was like 2 years ago. Yeah, we didn't even do a battle report on that, but like rarely see that happen. But I don't know, Vin, what were you thinking as far as your defense? You played it really, really well. Like
it felt good.
Yeah,
I was just like right off the bat, I was just like, I need to bring one of my not legionnaires,
your auxiliary,
not the whatever the guys, these guys, they're not legionnaries.
Legionaries.
Oh, I thought we were calling them the wrong thing the whole game. That's because there's an Imperial Rome, right?
Yeah, well, it's Imperial Roman Legionaries. Yeah, same thing. They're not Republicans. Yeah.
Oh, okay, got it. So I figured bring one of them over there just to kind of. I thought they would maybe hold out a little bit longer.
Yeah, they got housed.
Oh, they got destroyed.
Yeah, they got housed.
I brought them over there to actually just help out and just hold them off longer. But these guys, I mean,
that was just stupid.
Yeah,
that's what that was.
They single-handedly just.
I don't know how they didn't break. That was aggravating.
Yeah, that was great. Moral victory was literally just having archers and auxiliary.
Yeah, they tied them up for like 2 or 3 rounds. That was aggravating too. Yeah, this whole side of the table, like...
I wasn't expecting to take them out, for the record.
Yeah, and this was one of the few games when I feel like we didn't really fail that many orders rolls, so the armies were very active on the table, and even with them being... It still got just tar-pitted. I got tar-pitted with auxiliary, and that's like the most... aggravating thing that could happen, I think, in this game. But yeah,
that was a huge victory for me. So that was just holding that flank was big, because after I saw the 2 cataphracts, I was like, I'm gonna get sweeped the second that ends. But luckily, it never ended.
Yeah, I think like overall, like this game, just kind of wrap it up. This was a victory. I mean, I'll take it, but in reality, it should have never.
Oh no!
This literally was the pendulum swinging from one extreme to the other in a matter of like 2 turns.
And I'm pretty sure everybody saw like that there really wasn't anything special to my tactic. It was literally I was waiting for Joe to reach this line, and then just
run down the hills.
And just.
That's what they did though. Like that's what I mean. Like that's what they did. They sat up there and then tried to catch Parthians off guard, and it literally worked for 4.5 turns.
Oh no, it worked great before and
after.
This asshole.
Yeah, and then it kind of fell apart. We hope you guys liked watching the Parthians and Romans do some stuff here. Like I said, these are the only 2 Hail Caesar armies that I have right now. I have Carthaginians that are going to start getting done up because I want to do Punic Wars, but that's still kind of a ways away. So we might continue to do some Parthian Roman stuff, some more themed battle reports, some historical stuff. Maybe we'll dig in a little bit deeper and try to get some Imperial Roman conflicts. And some battles and kind of use those. If you guys got any ideas as well, kind of throw them our way and we can do some stuff with that too. Just kind of nice to get out here and roll some Ancients and kind of check things out again for Hail Caesar. So we'll catch you guys later. We hope you guys liked it and thanks for watching.